What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today we have some news, some things that are going on in the media. As always, we're in Cleveland. This happens every day. We get new shits. We get to new lows and new highs, which we really are. I mean, when you go from the Cavs to the Browns, it really is a true like a high and a low. So yeah, if you're a Cavs and Browns fan, welcome. Thank you for putting up with our shit, and thank you for putting up with the Browns shit. And thank God for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they are on a tear, which we are going to start with them. Obviously, we have the combine going this weekend as well, so we will get into that here in a little bit, as well as also some other news, another low to just kick us in the balls about the Browns. A lot of this stuff wasn't really that shocking, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. Andrew, my friend, how are we feeling on this Wednesday night at 8:10 p.m.?
Dude, I mean, I feel pretty good. You know, I got no complaints of what's going on. Cavs are killing it. Guardians spring training has started.
Very true.
So we have a lot of positivity to look forward to. I mean, except for the second thing we're talking about today, that's the Cleveland Browns. But other than that, everything else is pretty positive.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, we're pretty used to it at this point. When it comes to the Browns, they are literally the brown spot that is on the bottom of your underwear. You know, it is just it's a thing you just kind of deal with. If you can't get the stain out, you either throw it out or you just keep trying to water wash it and continuing on with it. So that's the Browns for you. But we're not going to start low. We're going to start high. And the high right now is the Cavs. They are on an 8-game winner. They're on their third 8+ game win streak of this season. My friend.
Yeah.
We have gone on, what was it, a 15, a 9, and now an 8.
Yep.
The Cavs have put, I mean, that is already 3/4 of our wins. So when you think about how dominant this season has been, it has been insane. And the last few games especially have been even more insane. We went into New York, came in to Cleveland, and we smoked them. We beat them by just about 40 points with Darius, I think. Darius? Or was he out?
Yeah, it was with Darius.
Oh, that's right. He got hurt in it.
Darius missed the last 2 games.
Yeah. Beat the shit out of the Magic the other night. And I think we beat somebody else really badly too. Memphis, yeah. Actually, that one was a competitive game. That one was a fun game. And I think it's because the Grizzlies are just another tough team.
Yeah.
And they're, they're second in the West right now. So they are a very tough and very solid team. Obviously, Ja Morant is like, if it wasn't for Shai having such an insanely good season, you could argue that Ja would be up in the MVP conversation. So the dude is good. They have a solid team. They're very just physical, man. Like they are what the Knicks were a few years ago in my eyes. And the West is no slouch. We said that last week where the West is just a much better conference than the East. You know, after that third or fourth team in the East gets a little dicey. Detroit is on I think they're on like a 7 or 8 game winner right now. But
7.
I think they're gonna lose tonight against the Celtics.
That score right now is tied at halftime, 55-55.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Honestly, I hope that Detroit, whether they win or lose, I just hope that they make the Boston players play a ton of minutes. Which, listen, the Knicks played damn near 40 minutes against us, and they got smoked. And they did the night before as well. We just have not needed to really do it. And that's why we've been able to win these games and win these games considerably. I mean, the Magic took us to 7 games last year and we blew them out by 40 at their home court. Obviously, without Suggs, and without at least 1 or 2 other guys. I know one of the Wagner brothers were out.
Mo Wagner, the center was out.
And then another one of their guys got hurt. So like they were not at full capacity, but they were at a pretty decent capacity. And the Cavs just, I mean, they weigh you down. And when you look at the scorecard, first of all, everybody on the Cavs at least scored 2 points. The high point leader for that game was Ty Jerome. Yeah, he had 20 points. I think Mitchell had like 11 points, but he was just kind of just being a facilitator, just doing his thing. Mobley, I think, had 17. I know Strus had 17 as well. Yeah, he had like 5 threes. Everybody's just kind of contributing. I know Hunter had another excellent game.
He also had 17.
He also had 17. I think he hit like 3 or 4 threes just in the first half alone to really like set the tone. So, dude, with the trade of Hunter, it is proving to definitely benefit us in the most positive way. And the Cavs have continued to bring him off the bench, and I kind of see why they're doing it. Because he's still playing 25 plus minutes a game. It's not like he's not playing. It's just I think they just like his scoring ability off the bench. Especially when you compare him up with Ty Jerome. I mean, those two guys are the first guys that come off your bench. With the way they're both playing, it's hard not to continue that. Strus has good continuity with the guys, so him playing the 3 is fine because he'll have nights where, like last night, where he'll shoot 5-3 or shoot for 5 of 7 or 5 of 8 for threes, and just kind of have like 4 or 5 assists and just kind of contribute. But when you got Hunter adding 17, you got Jerome having 20. We were saying this after the game. Ty Jerome is on some like Steph Curry shit right now.
Dude, he's crazy.
He pulls up, and I feel like 9 out of 10 times he's banking it. Like he's literally draining everything he's throwing up, and I think his confidence is just at an all-time high. And he's probably the most underrated signing that any team could have had ever. And I really hope the Cavs continue to keep him. And it's going to be tough, obviously, with the way that the cap is going to work for us. But he is a guy that's worth keeping around. And it's going to benefit us. Like, especially when you have nights where Garland can't play. And it's not like he's super banged up. I think they're doing it just as a precaution. Because he honestly smacked his face harder than he smacked his hip. So the fact that they're saying it was his hip kind of bothers me a little bit because he literally smacked his face off the ground. Like I was like, oh fuck, here we go again. Like please don't do anything bad. But when you have nights like that, like that, having a guy like Jerome to really run that other unit, it's so imperative. And now you see why the Cavs made the decision to get rid of LeVert, because although LeVert is a great player and he does his thing, I just think Jerome is playing at a more consistent pace than LeVert ever could. And that's what made that decision so easy. And then you add now Javonte Green. He was grabbing every rebound that was thrown his way. Yeah. He still scored 4 points. He only played like the fourth quarter, basically, but he did something at least in this game. It's going to be interesting how the Cavs decide to have their rotation in the playoffs. And I think the back end of the rotation might change per team. Like you may see Green play a few more minutes against a team like Boston because of his size and because of his defensive prowess and his ability to rebound. Like that is going to play key with a team that gets so many offensive rebounds against us. So it's going to be fun to watch. And the Cavs are getting ready to play Boston on Friday. I think everybody has their eyes set on that game right now.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts going into this game, especially with just the move with Hunter and how everybody is playing right now? Because the Cavs look unbeatable. They like no team has come close. The Knicks got embarrassed by them. It was bad.
Yeah, and I want to present something onto the screen here because this is very interesting that with the DeAndre Hunter trade. So this is courtesy of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So since the Hunter deal, the Cavs are 6-0. They are number 1 in offensive rating at 127.5, number 1 in defensive rating at 104.1, number 1 in net rating at 23.5, number 1 in rebounds per game at 51 rebounds per game, and number 1 in bench points per game at almost 48.5 bench points per game. Ever since we got DeAndre Hunter, we have just been instant upgrade. Don't get me wrong. I love Niang and I love LeVert. They're great guys, but DeAndre Hunter's on a whole new level, and this really just elevates the Cavs bench. This is courtesy of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, so that we don't get fucking canceled.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But yeah, like those numbers are just incredible, and you're giving those minutes to you're giving them to DeAndre Hunter, you're giving them to Sam Merrill, you're giving them to Ty Jerome, who are playing more minutes, and they are utilizing those minutes. Like you said, Hunter comes in, has 17 points, 3 boards and 2 assists. Ty Jerome, 2 assists, 2 boards, 1 steal, and 20 points. You give those minutes to Sam Merrill, who had 19. Didn't have the greatest of games, but still gave you a couple threes. I mean, it all across the board. Like, these are the games you love when Donovan Mitchell only plays 23 total minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the games that you love because you're just doing something right when Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter are averaging more minutes than Donovan Mitchell. That's how you know you're playing really good ball.
Yeah.
And I tell you, dude, facing Boston on Friday is going to be a totally different story than the first 3 times that we faced them, because now we don't have to worry about Niang coming in here and screwing things up. Because I was at that last game against Boston. Niang immediately comes in, gets 5 personal fouls as soon as he walks onto the court. LeVert misses every single jumper he took and turned the ball over. I think he turned the ball over like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was awful. And mind you, this was a game where neither team could hit because both teams finished with under 30% shooting and under almost 15% in threes. So nobody was doing anything in this game.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of basically which bench was going to come in and do the dirty work. And if we had DeAndre Hunter, that's another almost 20 points off the bench. Yeah. And with how the score went, you lost by, I think it was by 6.
Yeah, it was
you probably win that game by almost double digits. And it's just crazy the flip around that he brings to the table. And the fact that you're able to go out there and grab a DeAndre Hunter and Javonte Green, like you said, Javonte Green comes in and has his first couple minutes as a Cav the other day. He played 6 minutes, 3 rebounds, 4 points. Yeah. Instantly, again, just 6 minutes, very impactful in 6 minutes. 3 rebounds and 4 points in just 6 minutes. That's very impactful. Yes, people don't realize that. That's insanely impactful for that little bit amount of time. And again, that's more than Niang and LeVert against Boston for 15 plus minutes each for either one of them. That's more impactful. So adding this to the bench makes the bench 10 times better. It makes Kenny Atkinson's job easier. It makes the starting 5's job easier because now they don't have to rely on the starting 5 don't have to rely on each other to do the dirty work. They know that they can go out there and as long as they just play good, relaxed ball, they know that the bench will come in and just keep it going. So it makes, and the way that Kenny has been rotating the bench and the starting 5 is great. I mean, he'll leave in Donovan Mitchell and bring on Ty Jerome for Darius Garland, and those two are a great tandem together.
Mm-hmm.
He'll bring in Mitchell and bring in, someone like Craig Porter Jr. Craig Porter Jr. has been playing really well as soon as he came back from injury. So, he's not one of those guys who has to come in and score. He's a great facilitator and a great defensive player. Yeah. So there's so many different things that Atkinson has done to rotate this and get the rotations down very well. But it's just how well this team is now put together. This team, again, mind you, the last time we played Boston, the last time we played OKC, we still had Niang and we still had LeVert. Now, these teams, and again, the last time we played New York was right at the beginning of the season, the first 4 games, and that was again with Niang and LeVert.
Yeah.
The Knicks looked around and found out, we got DeAndre Hunter and we blew him out by 40. And all of the Knicks fans, oh, we're gonna beat the Cavs because they're so scared of us from 2 years ago, or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, you got bodied by 40. Orlando, the same thing. Yeah, get bodied by 40. We're not going 7 games with Orlando again. It's gonna be a sweep. It's and also I looked up Mo Wagner towards ACL in December, so that's why he hasn't been playing. So he's out for the remainder of the year. So that's a big blow to Orlando.
That's a huge blow to them. Yeah, because he was a guy that really killed us.
He kills you on the glass.
Really, both of them do.
Well,
but, yeah.
Well, the thing is, they're both physical.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to like damn near throw punches. So they're very like, especially Mo Wagner as a center. He's a very physical center.
Yeah.
And he will get up on the glass. He will get second chance buckets. He will get rebounds, and he will bully you too. So he's not an easy person to get around and get by. So that helps you a lot. But again, just the way that Evan Mobley and Jared Allen have played all season, that doesn't even matter because they've been killing it. And that's the other big thing is Kenny Atkinson finally has unlocked Evan Mobley's abilities. And Evan Mobley is showing you the true star that he can now be this season. He is damn near averaging 20 points a game. He's literally just dribbling defenders now. He's literally acting like a point guard where he's just dribbling defenders, taking it to the bucket and just slamming it on people.
Yeah, he's starting to play like a Kevin Durant, but more like LeBron when he was in Miami, where he's just dunking everything.
Someone said he's playing like a prime Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, really is. He's got better handles than Kevin Garnett ever did.
Yeah.
Ever did. And that's why I would compare him to KD in that reason, just because I mean KD has some really good good handles. But dude, I just want to point something out here. Every single player on the Cavs, not only obviously did they all score in this game against Orlando, everybody was a plus. Isaac Okoro, he's getting back to shooting the ball better. He was 2 of 2 from 3. He had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He's playing more. He started the last 2 games and he's been that 3-2. And that's the thing too about getting Okoro back and getting Wade back is now you have your defense. Now the Cavs are fully loaded. The Cavs are fully loaded. Even when Garland isn't in, we can still compete. And I think the only downside to Garland is sometimes he will get too excited and dribble and turn the ball over. And Mitchell will do that at times too, but Mitchell plays off ball quite a bit now, especially compared to last year. I mean, compared to last year, it's night and fucking day. But a lot of things comparatively are night and day. I mean, let's start with
for sure.
But I mean, yeah, Evan Mobley, man, he is I'm not gonna say unsung hero, but he is the guy that has been the biggest X factor, and I definitely made that the point here in my notes. When it comes to everything, it's Mobley, and then it's at least when it comes to this game against Boston, Hunter is 100% going to be the X factor for us. And I'm really looking for this Cavs team to just go in and say, okay, you guys beat us at our home court last game. We're going to come into Boston and we're going to shut these fucking fans up. Because I'm going to tell you something. I can't stand Boston fans.
They're annoying.
They are especially with that fucking accent that they have. Jesus.
Boston accent.
Listen, living in Ohio is not the greatest. Okay. We all know that. Okay. Everybody makes fun of Ohio. But if you're an Ohioan, you're allowed to make fun of Ohio.
Yeah.
But it takes a special kind of person, and not in the good way, to want to live in the Boston area. It is a rugged ass area, man. It's not it's beautiful in some ways. In other ways, it's just another Detroit or it's just another New York. It has its ups and it has its downs. And those type of people are just so fucking annoying. I hate them. I hate Boston people.
Well, they think they're so much better than everyone.
Yeah, especially because they had the Patriots for so damn long, and they have, Boston being back up top. Listen,
the Boston Bruins for so long in hockey.
The Boston Bruins, even the Red Sox.
the Celtics from like the
Yeah.
60s to like the 80s.
Red, the Red
The
Sox.
Sox, yeah.
It just keeps going on. So
They're spoiled.
they're so spoiled, so entitled, and yet they've been kind of irrelevant beyond last year. That was their best year that they've had. And again, they're like Eagles fans for me in terms of their annoyance. Boston fans, New England fans, and Philadelphia fans are up there with their annoyance. And I know everybody has the same annoyance for like Ohio State fans, and I get that from an outside perspective. A lot of Ohio State fans are very egotistical and just a bunch of idiots. Like I get it, but man, it does take a special kind of person to want to live there. So it is what it is. But again, I want to go in there, and I don't think we're going to beat them by no 40 because
No.
Boston's still like for right now. We are the best team in the East, but Boston still holds the reins because they have won. But another thing that I want to mention real quick, I don't know how much you've seen about Jason Tatum just complaining about how he's not the face of the NBA or how he is still not looked at. I was like, dude, you guys won a title last year. Okay. You won MVP last year in the finals. But I also will say, I think Jaylen Brown's a better player than Jason Tatum is. I really do.
I've seen those posts too, where like people are actually saying like, dude, not gonna lie, Jaylen Brown's actually better than Jason Tatum. And the thing is, like,
said that today on X.
Yeah, and the thing is with Jason Tatum is like, dude,
you're a good player.
You're
like,
a great
nobody
player.
is saying you're not.
No, but the thing is, you're not better than LeBron. You're not better than Luka. You're not better than Durant. You're not better than Steph. You're not. There's like already. You're not better than Kawhi. Like there's so many. I've already just named 5 people who are better than you by metric miles. Like, dude, you're not the face of the franchise for a reason. You're definitely not better than fucking Jokic either. Like I just named right there easily 6 people who are 10 times better than you are.
Yeah,
and. Those are the guys who win MVPs. Those are the guys who deserve MVPs. Those are the guys who are the actual faces of the franchise or the faces of the NBA because, they've been dominating for years. LeBron's been dominating the NBA for 22 years now. 22 years. Yeah. Brother, you're barely even born yet when LeBron was decimating the NBA. So don't sit there and talk about, I'm not the face of the franchise and I hate it. Like, dude, you're not that good, but dog. Like, you're a great player, but you're not good enough to be the face of the franchise. Right now, I have the score up for the Boston and Detroit game. Boston's down by 10. They're down by 10 with 3 minutes left in the third.
To
Detroit, dog. To JB
now listen,
Bickerstaff.
Again, JB has Detroit playing, but like again, we all said this. JB is a better coach with a young team.
Yeah.
He is a better coach with a young team. So he started to get us out of the gutter. And we are thankful for that. But, dude, you can't keep playing your guys 40 minutes a night and expect them to get through the first or second round without being absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
This is why Kenny Atkinson has been as great as he is. By the way, the Cavs shot 56% from the field last night. They shot damn near 60% from 3.
Which is crazy.
And part of that was guys like Jerome and Hunter and Max Strus alone. I mean, those guys hit 5, 4, and 4 threes. Isaac Okoro was 2 of 2. Evan Mobley hits 1 every single night. And this team has just found the rhythm. They found the motive. And now I think they're locked in. Now that the All-Star break is done, I really do think the Cavs are starting to get more locked in because they know here in another month and a half, it's playoff time, baby. And this is the time where you start to narrow down whatever you think you still need to work on, and you get it down pat. You get these guys more continuity and teamwork. And again, just being able to see guys like Okoro contribute positively again, start to mesh back and start to get his rhythm and rhyme back. It's nice. Like everybody is playing well. everybody on this cat. I mean, Craig Porter didn't really score, but he had 5 assists in 11 minutes. Most of that was in. I mean, a majority of that was in the fourth quarter. So it's just his team, man. It's so much fun. 5 steals, 5 blocks. Mobley had 2 of those blocks. Okoro had 1. Allen obviously had 1.
Dean Wade had 2 steals.
You know, and this is one more thing I'm going to say on Hunter. He does not foul a whole lot. Like he is really good
he does not.
Like he defends 1 through 5, and he does a good job of not fouling and not putting himself in bad situations. And when you just said about Niang, he was a foul machine. I mean, look at how many times he almost blew games for us because he was fouling people at a 3-point line. We almost got into a tussle with Detroit. Had it not been for Garland hitting the buzzer beater, we would have been like Boston. So again, we don't have that. We don't have the issues that that we did. So yes, did it mean getting rid of some of the culture guys? Sure, but it's paid dividends. In I mean, you saw freaking Kenny Atkinson the other night. He was just smiling ear to ear because he's like, I don't even have to do anything. I feel like Steve Kerr. He's like, I don't even have to coach. I just got to keep my guys fresh. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. But I will say about this. If the Cavs win this game on Friday, which I do think they do, but if they really do, the media has got to start putting some fucking respect on our name. And the only guy that I've really heard like putting respect on our name and turn towards the big media is Stephen A. Smith. Yeah. He has been pretty like the last few weeks. He's been like, guys, I'm telling you, the Cavs are legit.
Yeah.
And more people are starting to finally talk a little bit. But again, until you beat the likes of Boston, you're not really going to get that respect in the East yet. And everybody at the end of the day is still going to say, sure, you could do this in the regular season, but it's what you do in the postseason that matters. This is our 3rd year going into the postseason with this squad, with some tweaks. And dude, I just bring it on, man. Bring it on.
Mind you, it took Boston 7 years with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all them to actually finally make a NBA Finals and win a title. So that's the big thing I've been using against Boston fans. They're like, the Cavs teams are not going to. They're taking too long of Donovan Mitchell's time to make the playoffs or to win the championship or whatever. And it's like, brother, it took you 8 years with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to actually finally win a title. So like, shut the fuck up. Like, I mean, like kindly, like you guys have blown so many fucking leads in the playoffs over the last few years. It's not even funny. It's crazy, dude. It's so annoying. Like, this is why I can't stand Boston fans. They just think they're so much better. It's like, dude, you took 7 years of Tatum's time and Brown's time just to finally win a title, just so you can brag about it and be like, oh, the Cavs are so trash. They can't barely get past the second round of the playoffs. It's like, yeah, we're also one of the youngest teams in the league.
Right.
And also, too, we just stocked up, and it's not going to take us 8 years to probably make an NBA Finals. Like, this is a team that can make the finals. And to be honest, we are now ready to compete with OKC. And to be honest, OKC is not really the biggest worry in the West. Because guess what? There's still Denver out there. There's still Memphis that can go out there and beat OKC. OKC just, I don't know if you saw it, but OKC just gave up, what was it, it was a 121 to 109 lead against Minnesota the other night. I watched it. 3 minutes left. Minnesota came back from 109 to 121 to win an OT against the Thunder. That's crazy to me. OKC didn't score in 3.5 minutes. And that was with everyone on the floor.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying OKC fucks up a ton too. So, we got to stop putting teams like Boston and OKC on this high-ass pedestal that there's some like perfect machine teams. And then they're like, well, the Cavs got to do something in the postseason besides it's like, okay, what's OKC done?
Yeah.
They haven't made the postseason. Every time they made the postseason the last couple of years, they got bounced in round 1 or round 2.
Yeah. And again, they're another team that, I mean, those guys play a lot of minutes. They
Yeah,
do.
they
They're
play 40
not.
minutes a game.
They're not a deep team. They play 7 to 8 guys every night.
I want to see how
Meanwhile,
many
the
minutes that
Cavs.
game.
I mean, meanwhile the Cavs completely empty the bench. And when you think about it, like we use Dean Wade, we use Hunter, we use Jerome, we use Merrill, we use Okoro, like, and then when you have Garland, like that's literally 9 or 10 guys right there, and you could play every single one of those guys in the playoffs and play some decent minutes. And again, I think with how Ty Jerome was playing early on, I think that really helped the Cavs decide to move on from LeVert, because I think a lot of it was, hey, LeVert's on his last year of his deal. You got to see what's going on with him. But they liked his skill set and they liked what he brought off the bench. But the way Jerome is playing, it's like, dude, now you don't need him. And that's why you were able to give him up and feel okay with it, because you have a solid backup point guard, while you still can have a guy like Donovan bring the ball up. Shit, Evan Mobley brings the ball up and just takes it one-on-one. If he finds a mismatch, he's going for it now. Like,
yeah,
it's a different Cavs team, man. It's
sure.
not even comparable anymore. It really isn't.
Yeah, and by the way, on Monday night, Shea and Jalen Williams both played 43 minutes for the Thunder.
Yeah.
So,
that includes down a little bit too. They've been slowing down a little bit,
and that includes OT, but they've been averaging about 37 minutes or so in regular time.
All right,
36 minutes. So they're playing a ton of minutes.
Yeah, a lot.
And like you said, Shea and all them have slowed down a little bit, and Chet is out. I think he's out long term now, because I think he got re-injured again, and I think he's out long term now because Isaiah Hartenstein has been playing a little bit more, and then I didn't see Chet's name on the box scores.
Yeah.
So I don't get me wrong, Hartenstein's a solid player. I'll give him that, but I just want to see what the Chet injury is. Oh, he just took the night off. He just rested.
Yeah, I mean, with his with the injury that he had at the beginning of the year, I think they're gonna really try to do a good job of trying to take his time to bring him back. Because
and the thing is, they're going to use him a lot in the postseason,
right?
Because he's got to rest up as much as he can. Otherwise, without him, OKC might be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I'm ready for the playoffs.
Oh, dude, I'm so ready for the playoffs. The playoff, dude. The Cavs playing the way they are. I mean, if we get home court, that's going to help the Cavs out tremendously, and Cavs fans are going to really show up for that. And I think it's going to be such a benefit for us that it's going to be really tough for any team really to come into that arena and want to play there. It's going to be tough. The only teams that probably really can do that to us, Detroit a little bit, definitely Boston. I think New York might be able to squeak one out of us, but I just trust Atkinson so much.
Yeah.
And just the preparation and the way that he treats this team, it's beyond a different feeling this year. Beyond.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on the Cavaliers. We've talked a good 30 minutes on them, and I think we could probably move on a little bit to the other not so fun part of things going on this week. What do you say?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So the good thing that is happening right now is the NFL Combine is getting ready to start. We got to hear from Andrew Berry yesterday and Kevin Stefanski earlier today, and didn't really get a whole lot out of them, to be honest. At least anything unique. I think the only few points that each coach or each person made was obviously they are adamant that they do not want to move on from Garrett, and I actually believe them 100%. it's really hard for you to want to move on from a guy like that. And there has been rumors about Garrett going to extend with us. I've heard 3 years, 120 mil. And now there's other reports going on right now through different media sources and stuff that are saying that he's going to be paid up around basically one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid non QB player in the league at around 40 million a year. So if that is correct, 3 years, 120 mil actually makes very good sense. That's 40 million a year.
Yeah.
So I think those are legitimate under the road conversations that are having. I think it's going to take a few weeks for it to really develop, though. I think the Browns have a lot of things they need they need to do. But another thing that they have to do and prep for, especially after the combine, is they got to get into free agency. I didn't even realize free agency's in March, dude.
Yep.
Like,
free agency comes up in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, so we have that to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
And over the past few years, Andrew Berry has not been that adamant in adding a ton of depth or adding a ton of basically having to make big splashes. The only splashes he really makes is trades. He usually makes one good trade. So to be honest, I could see Berry doing a trade here in the next week or two. I really could. I think that's very possible. And with the way he's gone over the years, it sort of stacks up. So curious to see what happens there. Who they decide to trade for, or what they decide to trade for, or who they decide to trade away. Because guys like Newsome are very much in the conversation to get traded. He's due like $13.5 million. I know he wants to stay here and sign long term, but there's a lot of money that we have to divvy up a little bit. And unfortunately, I think his contract is going to be one that's going to be tough to sell, at least to keep for us. So I can see him going. I can see Tomlinson being off the block here. There's definitely a few guys. Ogbo is another guy I could see being on the sort of chopping block. It's going to be interesting, but again, shifting back to the draft, or not the draft, but the combine. I'm getting too ahead of myself. The combine is this weekend. I think it starts tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So who starts tomorrow? Because you have the schedule up.
Yeah. Let me bring it back up here.
Okay, he did have it up, and then
I have it up now. Because I just went back to my search. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. is defensive linemen and linebackers.
Okay.
And then on Friday, it'd be defensive backs and tight ends. And then Saturday is the one that everyone's going to watch. It's quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And then the last day, Sunday, is the big boys, the offensive linemen.
The big boys. Yes, I always love the big boys. Honestly, that's my favorite one to watch.
Dude, I love watching them run the 40.
It's
great.
I do, me too. Especially when you get a lineman that runs like a 4.7, and he's like damn near 300 pounds, but he's just just going. Like it's awesome.
Make that boy a running back.
Yeah. Obviously last year we had Xavier Worthy break the 40 time. I think it was like 4.22 or 4.21 or something like that.
Yeah.
So curious to see if anybody beats that this year. I mean, I think if anybody could, it's going to be one of the running backs with how many good running backs there are.
Yeah.
What are some? I mean, obviously you're going to, want to watch the quarterbacks. We do know that the likes of Sanders and Ward, they're both not going to do basically anything. They're going to take meetings, and that's about it. Which that's sort of the theme around some of these larger draft picks, at least for the QBs. They're going to probably more adamant on their pro days. And I think it's just because they want to kind of control their own environment and like the script that they are going to do in terms of throwing. Like they're going to show off their strengths, and they're also going to show off what they have worked on. And so obviously you won't see those guys, but there's still some decent quarterback guys to look at. Guys that if, say, the Browns don't go QB at 2 and they decide to move back, or they take, the top player, whether it's Hunter, whether it's Abdul Carter, if they trade back, if they decide to go lineman or whatever, D tackle, like they have options. It is going to be interesting to really see some of those other quarterbacks, and see if guys really stand out the most. And that's what the combine does, I think, the best is it gives a light to certain players that haven't really gotten to really show themselves. Besides if they were in the Senior Bowl, that's just usually like that first chance to do it. And then after that, man, if you make the combine, that's your way of doing it, and then your pro day, and then that's it. Obviously, I'm going to look at Will Howard. I'm going to look at Kyle McCord. I'm going to look at Dart. I'm going to look at Milrow, even though I hate Milrow with a passion, but his name's going to continue to get thrown around. It is what it is. Still a decent bit of quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers. I mean, there's still some decent names out there that could do something at some point in the NFL. But other than that, dude, I'm really excited to watch this running back room, and I'm really curious to see who shines in the receiver room. And I know Travis Hunter is going to be with the corners. Fun little tidbit that Barry did say about Hunter is that they view him as more of a receiver than they do a corner. Although they said he could, obviously easily play both, and I'm sure there will be times where he does. They actually view him as more of a receiver than they do a corner, and I think he's the first guy to really go out and say, hey, we view him as more of a weapon on offense than we do on defense. What did you think about that? Because that's definitely a different take than a lot of people have said, because he's obviously a great corner, but he's also just a fantastic playmaker in general. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't discredit anything Barry said about that. Like,
yeah,
I think, and a part of me kind of agrees with him that he might be better as a wide receiver than he would be at a corner, because playing corner in the NFL is a totally different ball game than playing for, a barely, Mountain West now or whatever Colorado is now, because I know that you were part of like the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 has disappeared.
Yeah, they're disintegrated.
But you played for Colorado. You didn't play against a lot of high-end opponents. So it's not like you're playing against the best of the best receiving talent.
Yeah.
As compared to like if you were to play with like an Ohio State or Michigan or an Alabama or something, and you're playing against high-end wide receivers all the time. Right. You might look like you're a great corner and be an easy, good corner. But on the flip side, I think he's a hell of a wide receiver. And to be honest, I think the Browns continue want to look forward to upgrading that wide receiver position for the young quarterback they might get. So, because who knows if you're going to keep Elijah Moore? Who knows if you're going to, I know you're definitely going to keep Jerry Jeudy as your number one, because he proved to be a very good number one wide receiver when he came here. But now you got to look at Seth Tillman. You got to look at, Elijah Moore. You got to look at the receivers behind them, which is like Darden and a couple others. You got to look at that and be like, do we trust those guys? Do we need to upgrade the wide receiver position in that regard? So if they were to go after Travis Hunter, I would not be surprised if the Browns just use them as almost like a full-time wide receiver. And I mentioned this before, if there is an injury to maybe like a Denzel, or an injury to, if you say you keep Greg Newsome, if there's an injury to like Greg Newsome, I wouldn't be surprised if they flipped them over to a corner during the game, because like, listen, man, we got an injury. We need you out as a corner now. We can't let you play wide receiver for the rest of the game. We need you on defense. So there's always that aspect. And I kind of like that from Travis Hunter. That nice little aspect that he has is that he can play both sides of the football. So
yeah,
if you want to use him on offense only, beautiful. Use him as a wide receiver. Let him go crazy. But if someone goes down, because we all know Denzel likes to get concussions about 6 times a season, you might have to use him as a corner for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have Martin Emerson, who's had a regress who had a down year this year. But I think that just happens to a lot of young talent, is that their second season is kind of like a regression year. So I see Emerson bouncing back for the coming season.
Yeah.
But again, the biggest injuries we've had over the last couple of years was corners, because guys like Newsome and Ward go down, and you need that help. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see, him playing corner at some point if the Browns draft him. But I think he's going to be used primarily as a wide receiver in Cleveland if he gets drafted here. So, but I like the pick. I don't know how Browns fans would react if we strayed away from QB. I think everyone's going to be like, "Oh my god,
yeah." There's going to be a lot of fans that don't like it.
Yeah, I'm personally, for me, it's if you don't get a quarterback, just take the best available, which is either if Abdul Carter doesn't go number one, it's either him or Travis Hunter. And if you go with them, look, I'm not going to be mad at the pick if you go either one of them, because again, you still have a good quarterback you can get in the second round in Jackson Dart with that first pick of the second round, or you wait till round 3 and you go, like you said, you go get like a Will Howard or a Kyle McCord-esque. So people need to learn to just not overreact. The Browns are going to do.
This is Browns fans, dude.
Yeah.
You got to think about that for a second before you say something like that.
Yeah, I know. But
all we do is overreact.
Yeah, that's fair. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that they're going to listen to the players in this draft, because
they have to.
They realize, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski realize how much they fucked up. And that they're going to ask, especially the players on contracts like Batonio, they're going to ask Garrett, they're going to ask, like, listen, who do you want us to bring in? Do you want us to get a QB at 2? Do you want us, Miles, do you want a partner in someone like Abdul Carter on the opposite side of you? Or would you rather have, or would you rather have a playmaking wide receiver corner? So those questions could be asked to the players, like, what do you guys want? What do you feel like we need? So if Andrew Berry's smart, he's going to ask the players, he's going to ask around, like, hey, listen, what do you guys want? Because I'm trying to make you guys happy. And I'm also trying to make the smart decision here and go with what we believe is the best player. And we need your help. So, and honestly, I would not trust what DePodesta says in that draft room. I would not listen to half the scouts, because it seems like they don't know what they're talking about. So I'm asking,
don't take any advice from Haslam.
Don't take any advice from Haslam. Don't let Haslam make any decisions. But I would go out on a limb and be like, listen, hey, Miles, if you want Abdul Carter, we're gonna get Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, if you want Travis Hunter as a number 2, we're going to get Travis Hunter as a number 2. Hey, offensive line, you want Shador Sanders or Cam Ward? We'll get those guys for you.
Yeah.
So the best part about having a number 2 pick is you have options. And in reality, with the number 2 pick, even if you don't get quarterback, you really can't go wrong with the options that you have.
Yep.
Unless you take a completely different turn and go like some like random ass like linebacker or something. Then,
that's not gonna happen.
I will walk to the stadium and burn it to the ground. So there's no way you can really screw this pick up in any sense.
No, I mean there's really not, and I know there's a ton of fans that go either way on this, and obviously that's where I'm at too. Like, and that's why I'm so open to everything. And like, there was a month and a half ago where we were both like, hey, like, I want nothing to do with Shador, and now I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be upset with them because I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get the need for quarterback, and I get the need for taking the gamble, and it is what it is. And if it is Cam Ward or if it is Shador, whoever it is that they decide to go for it, if they're going to go, QB there, I get it. And I've
Sure.
said this to us. I don't know if I've said this on here, but you know, the Browns can totally do this, and then a year later say, that wasn't the greatest pick. You know what? Let's
Mhm.
take another quarterback. The Arizona Cardinals did that a few years ago when they went with Kyler after absolutely bombing on Josh Rosen, which if you thought Josh Rosen was the quarterback of choice there, that was one of the worst moves ever. And they knew when they had Kyler, they're like, hey, we got to take this kid. Like, he's too good. And they made the right call. Now, is Kyler the greatest quarterback of all time? Absolutely
No.
not. But he is a much more competent, better quarterback to put out there on the field than Josh Rosen was. I mean, they literally traded him to Miami and he didn't even make it through the season. So they made the right call. So I guess the Browns can go about that like that if they really do, especially if they have another bad year and then Haslam decides to can everybody. Then it's hey, new ownership or new GM, new whatever. They are going to make those choices, and if they don't like the guys, they're going to get rid of them. And so that's kind of the beauty of where we're at, and it is going to be unfortunate. But if the Browns go 6-11 next year, they probably don't fire everybody, but Stefanski's going to be on the hot seat, and Barry's definitely on the hot seat. And I'll tell you what, Barry looks a little bit starstruck at the combine yesterday when he was talking. He looks nervous, and he knows he's kind of fighting for his job, even though they won't admit it. They're both fighting for their job.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll roll and sort of end the podcast on this. For those of you who don't know, every year the NFL comes out with these like report cards with the Players Association, and this is a player voted report card, I guess, for how their teams do. The Browns scored 30th of 32 teams.
Yeah.
So let me just go ahead and go down the list because I have all of the scores and all of the information that I need, courtesy of Daryl Ryder, who we love and hate at the same time around here. But he did do a really good job of breaking everything down. So I'm reading off his tweets. So shout out to Daryl. Browns obviously ranked 30th of 32. Here was some of the points from the survey. Treatment of families, D plus. Okay, that's a weird one to start off with.
I also
fucking plus.
I also have the actual report card that describes like the treatments of families and like what they are. So to go off of that, treatments of families, the Browns provide daycare on game day. They are only one of 10 teams that do not offer a family room during home games. The players rate post-game family area a 5.3 out of 10, ranking them 31 out of 32 teams. The players feel like that the team organizes family events several times a year, which ranks them 15 out of 32. And the players believe that the coaches' quote-unquote families are treated better than the players' families. For example, the coaches' families have a post-game meetup inside the stadium, while the players' families meet out in a tent in the parking lot.
Oh my god, that's bad.
So
I mean, it's not shocking information, but it's just tough to read.
Yeah, so if you want to, you can give it the grades, and I can read out like the things are.
Cool. All right, so next is food and dining. That was at a C-, which is not too bad, but not too great. So go ahead and go over that one.
Yeah, that's 26 out of 32 teams. The Cleveland Browns would rate the taste of their team's food as a 6.5 out of 10, ranking 27 out of 32.
Hire some new chefs, damn it.
They rate the freshness of their food as a 7.5 out of 10, ranking it 25 out of 32.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's Ohio. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And still, you got to get some better.
And the players rate their dining area as a 7.15 out of 10, ranking it 29 out of 32.
Yeah, which that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've seen some of that facility from videos and stuff. It definitely looks outdated. Like Berea does need an update along with the stadium itself, which we're going to get into that here in just a minute. But next one is nutrition / diet dietitian. That was a B-, which is one of the better scores on here.
Yeah, that's still 26 out of 32, which, I mean, it's a good score.
Yeah.
But 82% of the players report that they get an individualized nutrition plan, ranking the Browns 17 out of 32. And the players feel that their team dietitian is moderately accessible, a ranking of 26 out of 32.
Weird. I mean, when your whole career is based off of your health, you would think that the dietitian would make themselves as accessible as humanly possible, or have
Dangerous diet in
multiple
the
of them
phone.
to make sure that everybody is good. But at the same time, at that point, those guys probably have their own personalized dietitians and stuff. But if there's rookies and stuff like that, then that's when you want them to be
Well,
accessible.
yeah, and from what it says too, they get their own individual plan from the
Yeah.
dietitian. So as long as they get the plan and how to like prepare meals and stuff like that, then they're
Right.
fine on their own. They don't really need to.
Right. And if you're well enough established player, like you're probably hiring a chef and all the other shit.
Yeah.
So like you have your own at home things. It's just a matter of try and stick to it.
Yeah.
Next, and this is the worst score off of this entire report card. The locker room is an F-. And before you say what it was, let me go ahead and read off of what the locker room was. I think they said the players the Browns have poured millions into their building. The locker room was gutted and expanded a few years ago, but apparently it's really small. And that's one of the things that they said. Plus, it's probably outdated as hell because the stadium and everything is just bad. But go ahead and read off what that one says.
Yeah, so the F- ranks 31st out of 32, which is surprisingly not the worst. By 39%,
the worst.
probably like Jacksonville or some shit.
Yeah, probably.
39% of the players feel they have enough room in their individual lockers, ranking 32 out of 32. And 29.
They don't look very good.
They look like a classroom locker or whatever.
It's like what I had in high school, dude.
Yeah.
That's literally what their locker rooms look like. It's a very outdated.
Yeah. And 29% of the players feel their locker room size is adequate, ranking the Browns 31 out of 32 teams.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But
that's awful.
Again, from how I've seen that that locker room just based off of videos and stuff, like it looks like a step above and away.
Yeah,
like it's what it looks like. So it looks pretty bad. Next is the training room, which was a D+, which was another one of the worst grades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, go over that one.
Yeah, so the training room is 31st out of 32 teams at a D+. 79% of Browns players feel they have enough full-time trainers, ranking them 27 out of 32. 68% of players feel they have enough full-time physical therapists, ranking 28 out of 32. 50% of the players feel they have enough hot tub space, ranking 32 out of 32. And 71% of the players feel they have enough cold tub space, ranking 29 out of 32. The players report that the training room is understaffed. Since the players responded to the survey, the Browns have hired 2 additional staff members, improving this.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, at least they're listening to some of this shit. Like, damn.
All right. Dude, the hot tub's not big enough, bro.
I mean, dude, I've seen that thing. It looks small as hell. So yeah,
dude, it looks small as hell.
Next is training staff, which they have as a C-. Obviously, that's probably going to be a little bit better now that they've hired more staff. But go ahead and go over that one.
Yeah, so C- is still 32nd out of 32 teams. 69% of Browns players report that they receive enough one-on-one training treatment, ranking them 31 out of 32 teams. The players feel that the training staff slightly contributes to their overall success, ranking them 32 out of 32. No wonder why nobody can come back from a fucking injury.
No shit. No fucking wonder.
God, they got no training staff on the fucking payroll. They got to take care of themselves. They're going to the.
That's 100% a handsome thing too. God.
Yeah, dude, they're going to the fucking minute clinic at the CVS to get diagnosis.
All right, on to the best grade on this, which was the weight room. Which before you go over that one, they just redid the weight room, so this does make sense. Like this one's the only one that makes actual sense.
Yeah, didn't they just do it like last year or something?
Yeah,
2 years ago.
I think so. Yeah, it's very recent.
Yeah, and that grade puts the Browns in the top 10, 8 out of 32 teams. So the Browns players report that the weight room equipment is high quality, ranking them 8 out of 32. The players feel that they have more than enough room to train in the weight room, a ranking of 9 out of 32. The Browns built a brand new state-of-the-art weight room this past off season.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Next is the strength coaches, which I have heard have always been pretty solid. They got a B plus. Let's go ahead and go over that one.
Yeah, so that's 19th out of 32. So
right down the middle, basically.
Right down the middle. 96% of the players report that they get an individualized training plan from their strength coaching staff, ranking them 10 out of 32.
Okay.
The players feel their strength coaches moderately contribute to their overall success, ranking 22 out of 32.
Interesting. Next is team travel, which was a D. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, crazy enough, it's 28 out of 32. So it's not even like the top five. Well, it's top five worst, but it's not crazy awful. 60% of Browns players believe they have comfortable amount of personal space on team flights, ranking them 27 out of 32. The players feel that their team's travel schedule is not very efficient, a rank of 28 out of 32. So that's where it comes, is the lack of efficiency of getting to these places. And there's travel schedules, so they're probably leaving right before game time.
I think they leave if the game's on Sunday, they leave on Saturday.
Yeah, which they probably should leave it a Friday or a Thursday night or Friday or something. Get you a couple of days to, especially if you're going West Coast. You gotta have a couple of days for the. I know you get the
time change and the elevation, all that shit. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, leaving a Saturday evening is not going to cut that.
And then finally, ownership got a C plus, which I'm honestly kind of surprised with. So curious to see what they said on this one.
Yeah, so we'll start off with head coach too, which is a C, which ranks 30 out of 32 teams.
30 out of 32 teams. He was 28 out of 32 last year, so not much better. And that was after an 11-win season, by the way. So let's go.
Which is crazy. But 67% of Browns players feel their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, is efficient with their time, a rank of 29 out of 32. The players feel Stefanski is moderately receptive to the locker room feedback on team needs, ranking him 30 out of 32. So, like we talked about earlier, not very receptive to the players. Again, we believe that it's because of Deshaun Watson coming in and them more or less catering to Watson instead of everyone else. And then ownership, C plus, obviously, like you said, 22nd out of 32 teams. It's not the worst, actually.
Yeah.
Owner Jimmy Haslam's average rating for perceived willingness to invest in the facilities is a 8 out of 10 from the players, a ranking of 21 out of 32 owners in the league. The players believe that ownership slightly contributes to a positive team culture.
Yeah.
A rank of 29 out of 32. And the players feel that the ownership is somewhat committed to building a competitive team, a rank out of 29 out of 32 teams.
Yeah, so basically they're saying he tries, he's just not very good at it. So I think they gave him he gives effort, but it's not the greatest result. Which I think all Browns fans can absolutely agree with that. So some other additional points that Daryl made. In addition to issues with the locker room, players also expressed concern about poor time management and a lack of culture, accountability, and standards within the organization. And I wonder who that specifies. Probably number 4. Probably a guy named Deshaun Watson, who you brought in here, paid a shit ton of money for, and has played basically a full season's worth in 3 years. And has not contributed at all positively, has not been a leader, has not done anything, and the Browns refuse to be accountable for the fuck up that they made, and they dragged these great players into and ruined some of the primes of these players as well. I want to see. I just want to make sure you already went over that. So yeah, you pretty much went over everything else that Daryl made. So basically the Browns did not score very well on this. And that's a little bit concerning considering the fact that holy shit, the Celtics just lost by 22.
I was going to mention that. I was going to mention that the Celtics lost to 20 by Detroit.
Holy shit. So maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do this.
Maybe. Kind of positive.
Yeah. So, anyways, just to see the Browns scoring so badly, it really does make you wonder. Like, clearly, the players are not all in on all of this staff. Um, I think if this was maybe led by uh, like Schultz, or somebody else that's a little more fiery on
Hmm.
this team, I think the players would respond a lot better. Uh, Stefanski is such a by the book guy that it doesn't surprise me that he's not really keen on taking a lot of the advice from players. And dude, it boggles my mind at this stage of being in the NFL. Like, you can kind of do that in college and be like, hey, like, we have structure, we have ways that we, do things, and we're going to be strict, whatever. But in the NFL, it's pros. Like, these guys are here for a reason. I think you do need to have a moderate, like, back and forth of having structure and showing respect and boundaries, but also being receptive to what these players are good at. And I think Stefanski has failed them time and time and time again with that. And that's what's going to get him fired. Like, if he doesn't get it together, that's exactly what's going to get him fired. And he needs to be very careful because he is stepping on some really crazy shit. And I think he needs to really open his eyes and realize that if I can't be receptive to my players and I can't take advice from my players on what we should do when things aren't going well, yeah, you really probably shouldn't be a head coach in the NFL anyway, because it just like the NBA, dude, it's a players' league, and I think you got to respect your players because some of these guys are not much uh, older than you are, in some cases. So yeah, it doesn't make me feel very great going into the season, knowing that the Browns really don't seem to. I'm sure they respect Stefanski to a degree, but if the team is showing a lack of accountability and now the players are saying, hey, they don't take accountability for this shit, it doesn't help. But we also might just have a bunch of whiny ass players right now. And
Yeah.
if the culture is shifting the way it is in just 1 year, something's up. And that's going to speak real volumes to me. So um, I think what started it was the fact that the Browns didn't bring back Joe Flacco. I think everybody wanted him back in the building, and they decided to not go with him. I think that really rubbed the players the wrong way, and it definitely rubbed the vets the wrong way. Guys like Conklin, Batonio, Teller, Miles, and many more guys. Coop. Clearly, they were unhappy with Watson, and they were clearly unhappy with knowing that once he went down, there was no one to really go to. Um,
Mhm.
that can't sit well with these guys, and it's going to be up to this staff to bring it back and really show that they have the capability of pulling the bull by the horns and really getting this team back on track. Um, question is, do we have faith that they're going to do that, Andrew?
I mean, dude, I don't have much faith, period, at this point. Like,
It's
my
I don't
faith is
even.
starting to wither. Is starting to wither in the
It's
world.
it's more of this. It's more of, hey Siri, flip a coin.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it feels like. To be honest, dude,
He
it's
didn't
like,
want to do it. I don't know why, but yeah, like it's literally like that's how much faith I have in the Browns right now.
yeah. Also, um, I saw this on Twitter before we started, and I forgot to save it, but I found the report card still. So Kevin Stefanski was graded a C, mind you.
Mhm.
Coaches that were graded higher than Kevin Stefanski. Are you ready for this?
Yeah,
The Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, A plus for the Atlanta Falcons, by the way,
wow.
A for the Cardinals. Baltimore gave fucking Harbaugh B.
Yeah, I believe it.
The Bills gave McDermott a B. Carolina A minus. The Bears, Matt Eberflus got a C somehow.
doesn't make any sense at all.
Somehow, some way, Taylor from Cincinnati got an A, even though they missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Obviously Stefanski C. Mike McCarthy got an A from the Cowboys. Broncos got a B. Obviously Detroit A+ for Dan Campbell, because why not?
Right.
A- for Green Bay, A for Houston, A for Indy. The only one with the same grade as Kevin Stefanski is Doug Peterson from Jacksonville. Then Kansas City A+. The Raiders gave their head coach an A-, even though they fired him.
Weird.
Chargers B+, obviously Rams A, Miami Dolphins A+, Vikings A+, Patriots B+, even though Jerome Bailey got fired, they still give him a B+. Saints B-, Giants B+, Jets B, Eagles A-, even though they won the fucking Super Bowl. Steelers A, obviously, San Francisco A, Seahawks A, Tampa Bay B, Tennessee A-. And then the Commanders A+. So the two worst graded head coaches were Peterson and Stefanski, and somehow they were tied with Matt Eberflus, who got fired.
Wow. Yeah, if that don't speak volumes, I don't know what does, man. That doesn't make you feel good as a Browns fan. I'll say that. And that's why I kind of wanted to end with that, because it was like when that dropped, I was like, it's again, it's not really surprising, after this year. Like, there's obviously going to be a lot of unhappy players, and there was, like, the exit meetings and interviews were not pleasant. They were not fun to listen to. Guys like Conklin were like, hey, we need a leader at quarterback. We need somebody we're gonna really count on. We need to run an offense that goes to our strengths and not the strength of a quarterback that didn't play for 3/4 of the fucking season. It's like when he says stuff like that, it's like, man, it's no wonder that these guys are not too happy in their current roles. So we'll see how it goes. I think the domino that could make this go really good or really bad is going to be how free agency goes. And it's really going to kind of narrow down a little bit better what we're going to do in the draft. But I definitely think you're going to see a lot more in the draft than you will in free agency. I'm just curious what they end up trying to do. I really do.
And free agency starts on the 12th, so 2 weeks from today.
Cool.
Exactly.
So we'll have news on that as soon as it goes down.
Yep.
And that'll be great. So for now, we're just going to try to enjoy the Cavs. We're going to enjoy the Guardians. Baseball is back, so that's all obviously lovely.
Gavin threw 2 shutout innings with 3 strikeouts today.
I've heard Gavin looks a lot better this year too.
Gavin looked really good. 3 strikeouts, 2 innings, all perfect innings. Didn't even give up a hit or a walk either.
Yep.
Just dominated in this 2 innings that he was given.
Ortiz didn't play too well. He gave up like 6 earned.
I mean, I figured coming to a new team and stuff.
But hey, Bazana
had a dinger.
He had a dingers. It went 443, that's a pretty solid home run.
Also, Gabriel Arias stepping up quite a bit too in the spring training. He also had like a 430-foot nuke.
That's insane. A lot of these guys are starting to change up their stance and stuff in the box, and it's helping them tremendously.
Well, that's what Arias worked on a lot. They said this offseason was that he worked on his stance and his swing a little bit to give him more of a controlled stance and a controlled swing. And he's been barreling the ball a lot better during the spring training.
He's a big guy, and he's going to be the guy that's going to kind of compete
for that second base spot.
Yeah, it's going to be him and
Brito,
a few other guys. Yeah, Brito. So
Schneemann too. Yep. Bazana has a great spring training. It might be Bazana.
Yeah, it might be, but I doubt it. I think Bazana is about a year out from really getting called up.
From what I've heard, he's probably going to start in Double-A Akron because he finished off with Single-A Lake County, so he might start in Double-A. but they said he'll probably quickly transition to AAA, like after like the first like 2 months.
Yeah,
He'll go to AAA, and then if he does well in AAA, you might see him before postseason baseball if we get there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you never know.
So
that would be interesting. It would certainly make for a more fun playoff run. Yeah.
Don't forget about Chase DeLauder too.
That's the guy that I'm really excited about, and Manzardo. Like seeing
Manzardo hit a 440. Yeah, Manzardo hit a 440-foot nuke too.
Yeah, so the guys are swinging to that really, really well right now.
The young guys, yeah, for sure.
And you're gonna see a lot of guys throwing some solid innings. So it's gonna be fun. That's the beauty of spring training is you kind of get to see some guys that probably won't get caught up immediately, but will sort of make a name for themselves as the season starts to progress. So
yeah, Cantillo looked good as well.
Yes, he did. He's certainly a guy that I think could certainly
be in the starting 5 rotation to start the year.
Absolutely, especially when we have so many righties in our current rotation.
Yeah.
Putting in a lefty is going to really benefit us, I think. So I'm really curious to see if McKenzie ends up being a guy that starts or if they decide to put him in the pen. It's kind of a unique way to sort of be, especially with guys like Bieber, who are probably going to be a few months away from getting back in.
McKenzie gave up that home run in the first game, but I don't know. He pitched really well during his outing. I think he said on that pitch, the ball kind of like slipped out of him or like came late, and he's like, it just felt weird coming out of my hand, and it just like he's like it hung, but it just came weird off my hand. So he's like, it was just one of those things that happens every once in a while, and it just,
absolutely.
It's like he's like it's hot in Arizona, so sometimes you get that sweat on your fingers a little bit, and it just slips out, and you're just like, fuck. And it hung up on him, and it got crushed. But he goes, it happens. It's spring training. You just gotta get over it, wipe your hands off a little bit better, and he went back out there and finished his second inning of work and got through it like 1, 2, 3. So. And he didn't look bad either. That fastball went up to 90, topped out at 96. So, and the control looked a little bit better than last year already. So, that command is starting to look a little bit better than what we saw last year. So, if he could continue to do that, man, he's back.
Oh, yeah.
And plus, and like you said, man, the Ohio weather controls the ball differently. When you pitch. So he goes, my breaking ball is going to go a lot deeper and his fastball is going to move a little bit more. So he said, be on the lookout for that.
Sweet. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Excited, but that's pretty much going to do it for me. I don't really have too much else to discuss. We've almost been on here for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
We've been on here technically since like 7:30. So
we've been
doing this for a minute now. So we will obviously see you guys next week with some of the end results of the combine, some more Cavs talk and Guardians talk, and who knows, we might hear about some more shit about the Browns. So keep it locked in. We'll see you guys next week.